Arizona Cardinals 2.0 is officially here. Captains are named, and I say goodbye. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Going into my 8th season as host of Locked On Cardinals. Been in sports radio in Phoenix since 2011, and I don't think I've ever been more excited for a season to start than the 2024 season. That's even more than after the Cardinals made the NFC Championship game and were unceremoniously removed from contention when they got beat by 100 by Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. There's nothing that comes close to this. To what it feels like, to the unknowns, to the excitement of the unknown more than the fear of the unknown, to Kyler Murray fully healthy and Drew Petzing's offense with more offensive skill position players he's ever had in the league, and a big question mark on defense. What is going to happen? There's no predictive graph to show what could and most likely will happen in 2024. You tell me the Cardinals make the playoffs, I'm like, oh, kind of a stretch, but I mean, I could see it if happens. Oh, the Cardinals only win 5 games? Yeah, I could see that because It's everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. And that's what makes football such an incredible sport, because it's predictive diagrams and graphs don't tell jack when the opening whistle blows. The Cardinals have the offensive firepower to be special in 2024. The Cardinals defense has the opportunity to remain afloat and potentially be a top 20 defense, or they could be a bottom 3 defense, and we're having a completely different conversation at year's end. I'm going to be saying goodbye to Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury in the final segment. I will make a promise to you everydayers in the final segment. What are Marvin Harrison Jr.'s expectations in week 1? The reason why I'm doing it on an island with just him and not an expectations week or any podcast or anything like that is because I think it's far less important for him to pop come first snap week 1 than others may. But first, the Cardinals players have named their captain choices: Kyler Murray, James Conner, Budda Baker, and Kyzir White. I think this is a no-brainer 4-pack here. Arguably the 4 most important players on the team from a leadership standpoint. Kyzir White, immediately. Because he got that trust transfer coming over from Philly. They had just made a Super Bowl. Nick Rallis was his linebackers coach. Jonathan Gannon was his defensive coordinator. So he had that transfer over where people trusted him immediately because of what he just experienced with the new head coach in DC of the Arizona Cardinals. And he played very well last year in a very undermanned defense. Was a little wild early on with where he almost took Sam Howell's head off in week 1 in Washington. But by all accounts, he's not an all-pro. He's not a Fred Warner, but he is more than sufficient for the Arizona Cardinals as they're trying to rebuild this defense from the ground up. And James Conner and Budda Baker, every day, like I've talked about them all offseason. I talked about them all last season. I think that they need to be Arizona Cardinals in 2025 and 2026. I'm the only one, and again, I don't say things just to hear myself talk. I think it is wildly important to retain both of their services if they're not looking for top 10 positional money. Budda Baker would be tougher than James Conner. I think they both love being – if Budda Baker wanted out, he would not be an Arizona Cardinal right now. He would have said, trade me. I don't want to deal with this anymore. But that's not who he is. That's not the thing. And I feel like if he's been here up until this point, when things get good, why would he leave? Same with James Conner. But those two have been the vocal on-the-field leaders for this team over the last couple seasons. Especially with Kyler Murray out for the large chunk of last year. James Conner was the on-field leader, emotional guy for this team. And he backed it up with his play. So when I discuss pillars, which is what I used to a lot when there was only like 2 or 3 good players on this team, and then everybody else was not. It used to be, Patrick Peterson earlier on, Chandler Jones, DJ Humphries, Larry Fitzgerald when he played, obviously. But now you look at the pillars, the Arizona Cardinals pillars. Budda Baker's been one since Steve Keim traded up and drafted him at the top of the second round in 2017. James Conner has been one pretty much immediately when he came over from Pittsburgh. Kyzir White was one immediately. And Kyler Murray has shown on the field he is a very, very special player. And now, after tearing his ACL, after the regime switch, he's a completely different person. He's grown up in a leadership NFL quarterback sense. And it's palpable, it's obvious. So these 4 will be leading the charge into 2024. I'll tell you what, a lot of young guys around him. So this is the perfect time. This is the perfect respect given by the rest of the players naming these 4 guys captains. And it's not like, whoa, this is a surprise. It's not. But it reinforces the fact of how important these players are to the team. Obviously, Kyler Murray, but the other 3 and how people respect the other 3. So the foreshadowing of this for me for a couple minutes here is why not keep it rolling with these 2? And sure, the performance in 2024, injuries, not injuries. If James Conner rushes for 12 or 13, like a lot of what happens come 2025 is going to be predicated upon this year naturally. The Cardinals have a lot of money to spend. And they have very few set and forget guys on the roster, as I call them. James Conner and Budda Baker are 2 of the small handful. So while, as nature works, everybody gets a year older the next year. I don't know. We can go to the diagram for that if you need me to draw it out for you. The importance to this team with these 2 guys is unquantifiable. It's going to become quantifiable when money comes back into play for both of their, if they were to get, baby extensions. I just don't see a downside. And listen, for all of those screaming, well, if Trey Benson, takes the leap and he's RB1, if Adrian Taylor-Demerson comes in and he's going to be the safety for the future, that's fine. I still think they should bring him back. What's one thing the Cardinals haven't had a whole lot of positionally over the last couple seasons? Strengths. So Trey Benson has one good year, rushes for 600 or 700 yards as an RB2, and you just give him the keys? I don't think that that's the way to build sustained success. You need veterans in key spots. So, rewinding back to right now, Kyler Murray, James Conner, Budda Baker, Kyzir White, player named captains. There will obviously be other captains, weekly throughout the year, but these are the ones the players named, and rightfully so. What are Marvin Harrison Jr.'s expectations for week 1? Like what? Well, not his own. What are our expectations for Marvin Harrison Jr. in week 1? I'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals. Your team. Yours every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about them, okay? America's #1 sportsbook. We all have something a little different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you haven't gotten Sunday Ticket, it's worth the $5 bet. Trust me. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game, which is bonkers. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right. So here's the thing. The Arizona Cardinals are in a very, very interesting position going into week one. And I wanted to do a little taste on Tuesday and then really get into it starting tomorrow. I do, for those that haven't listened to the platform Locked On for a while, or, Locked On Cardinals, every Thursday throughout the season, I'll be doing a full crossover episode with the host of the team that the Cardinals are playing. So this Thursday, it'll be Joe Marino with Locked On Bills. It's going to be fascinating to see the insights of another organization that's kind of in flux, in transition, after trading Stephon Diggs and bringing in a bunch of wide receivers who are wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for different teams, drafting Keon Coleman, what that front seven is going to look like against the Cardinals offensive line, etc. But I'm going to get more and more in depth as we get throughout the week. But I did want to briefly discuss Marvin Harrison Jr. here, because I don't think he's going to be the second option come week one. I still think he'll be the third option behind James Conner and Trey McBride. And that is a fantastic situation for the 4th overall pick, a rookie, to be in, regardless of his talent or lack of ceiling. So look at it like this. The Cardinals, I'll give you a little, I think it's going to be kind of a shootout. I think there'll be 50-plus points scored. And it's going to be something that the Cardinals are going to have to keep up with. So my game plan and everything like that, I'll discuss on Friday. But I think it's going to be running the ball to kind of curtail the shootout potential. I mean, the Bills could put up a 30-burger like that against anybody whenever. They have Josh Allen. He's a cheat code. So running the ball is going to be massively important, not only for the entirety of the season, but really to set the tone in week one. It's going to be Trey McBride. It's going to be Kyler Murray's legs, I think, more than what it's going to be throughout the year. I think you go with what you know. You're on the road in a very hostile environment at Orchard Park. And while we could see Tennessee week 1, 2021, when the Cardinals beat them by 40, it wasn't 40, but they put up a 40-burger against Tennessee. We could see that week 1 against Buffalo. The chances are slimmer because the defense isn't as good as it was then. So Marvin Harrison Jr. specifically, it's going to be a feeling it out process in week 1. I don't think I can say I know Drew Petzing is not going to force the issue with him. And and they don't have to. And that's a fantastic, fantastic situation for a young player to be in. The Bills are going to have to decide. You're going to stack the box and make Kyler Murray throw, or you're going to have a light box and they're just going to run roughshod with James Conner and Trey Benson. This is going to be, even though it's 1 of 17, this is going to be kind of foreshadowing what other teams are going to have to deal with. And we're going to see, from the Cardinals' perspective, the actual flexibility of this offense is pertaining to plays being called. So if they're going to run the ball a lot, that'll set up play action. Trey McBride is still going to be the first option in the middle of the field, in my opinion. But you're also going to see the special of Marvin Harrison Jr. in a stress-free-ish environment. Cardinals have so many weapons. He wasn't drafted to save the offense. He was drafted to elevate it to the next level, a level potentially unseen. So the expectations for him in week 1, to say you don't have any, I'd love to see him 5 catches for 50 yards, 4 catches for 65 yards, and 1 being a special play, an acrobatic catch on the sideline. You just want to see proof of concept. You want to see proof when the whistle that's being blown for kickoff is a game that actually matters in the NFL, that he's the same receiver he's been his entire career. That's it. Do you want week 1 to be 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown? Of course. Of course you do. But expectations, the floor, that wasn't as great. That wasn't a great first debut. Geez, that wasn't a great debut for him. 2 catches, 20 yards or something. But I'll tell you what, if he's bottled up, that means Trey McBride or the run game went nuts. You can't stop all of them. You can't stop all of them. And while I know it's going to be unnerving and it'll make you restless when they run the ball 70% of the time in week 1, it's like throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. They drafted him. I've said this, and I'll continue to say it. This offense would have been pretty good without drafting him because of the scheme that Drew Petzing has in place. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to take it over the top, and it's going to be a lot of what the defense gives to them. And while that's obvious with any offense at any level of any football, it seems that it's going to be a fluid situation. We don't know how other teams are going to scheme. What do you scheme for first? The pass attack or the run game? The run game that was top 5 to end the season after Kyler Murray came back? Or the receiving group, and the pass catching group, I'll put Trey McBride in there, with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Michael Wilson, Zay Jones when he comes back, and Greg Dortch. It's like, what do you want to stop first? So at least to start out his career. And while the Cardinals are feeling out, while watching games, how good or bad this defense is going to be, it is a total feel-out period without any expectations for Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion. They won't have to force it. Awesome. They've got myriad options on offense. Awesome. They've got one of the most electric quarterbacks in the NFL. Awesome. And they've got an offensive coordinator who made magic out of not a whole lot of talent on offense last year. Putting that all together in week 1, which is really just the only preseason game, but it counts. But this is really the preseason, week 1 for everybody. Expecting Marvin Harrison Jr. to have this massive game, I think is a fool's errand. It's just the beginning. You're dipping the toe in the water of this offense. And having said that, would you be surprised if he had 8 for 100 yards and a touchdown? No. That's like his ceiling's like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase is what people are seeing it as. But I'm asking you, everydayers, smartest ones out there. You all are, not just addressing the smartest. You all are equally to me. Go into week 1 with excitement about the Arizona Cardinals having Marvin Harrison Jr. wearing number 18 with a Cardinals across the jersey on game day, and not expect all-pro Hall of Fame numbers in week 1 when there's so many questions about not only what this offense is going to look like, but also what they're going to be forced into doing or not doing because of how the defense is performing. I'm going to do at least one segment on that. Like, it's going to be a mindset shift. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'll do that later in the week. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. I say goodbye to Steve Keim. In what way? You'll hear it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Game Time. So Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you all the incredible deals, only them, on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. On top of that, they have all-in pricing. Okay, you can toggle that feature to show the total up front with no surprise fees at the end. That's badass. Seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy the tickets. That's a game changer, man. Say you want to go to week 1 Or say you want to go to week 3 or week 4. I can't remember which. I think it's Detroit's here. And you're like, listen, I want to sit in this area, but I've never sat in that area at State Farm Stadium. It'll show you your vantage point before you buy the tickets. It's an absolute game changer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at BetterHelp. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling, whatever it may be. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. Like for me, I've thought about going back and, golfing again, something that I played a lot growing up. I've got clubs. I live in Arizona. Why would I not? It's something that I've been slowly jumping back into. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. I, Alex Clancy, do solemnly swear to never mention Steve Keim nor Cliff Kingsbury's names as related to the state of the Arizona Cardinals again. It's time. And it's not like I had this realization like, oh, you know what? Tuesday, September 3rd. Let's do it now. I was waiting until the week beginning to do it. Because for those that have bared with me, Jason, Frozen Smoke, you'll get your shout here. Like, I don't know why people don't understand why Steve Keim still needs to be discussed and why Cliff Kingsbury still needs to be discussed. They're part of the plot still. Steve Keim was the reason. Cliff Kingsbury was the catalyst for why Kyler Murray's career has gone the way it has. Not 100%, maybe not even 70%, but enough of a percentage to misguide Kyler Murray from reaching his utmost potential 5 years into the league. And the reason why the Cardinals were so bad last year, aside from Kyler Murray tearing his ACL, and the reason why they never reached potential over the last handful of seasons, even when they went 7-0 and 10-2 in 2021, was because it wasn't built sustainably. And it wasn't being coached at an NFL level. If I can't talk about this anymore, I'm going to go back to one of the most, I mean, I'm not right a lot. Week 1, Tennessee. Cardinals absolutely lambasted the Titans. And I saw right through it. I'm like, nothing's changed. Chandler Jones strip sack early in the game. Cardinals, I can't remember the exact chronology of these events, but I believe there was a penalty, timeout, and then an end around on third down or an incomplete pass on third down. The Cardinals had to settle for a field goal where they should have scored a touchdown. Short field. It's like those are Cliff Kingsbury's greatest hits. Misuse of timeouts, unnecessary penalties due to lack of preparation, and just bad third down play calls. I'm like, oh, doesn't matter. Nothing changed. When the good players played well, the Cardinals won. When the players didn't play well, the Cardinals lost. It had nothing to do with coaching. Let's be honest. Things are a little different now. And the state of the Arizona Cardinals was the state of the Arizona Cardinals because of how poorly Cliff Kingsbury did his job and how poorly Steve Keim did his job, which in turn made Cliff Kingsbury's job more difficult. So I don't think I'm Uncle Ricoing it here, talking about 82 where I could throw a football a quarter mile. They were part of the plot still as reasons why the Cardinals were going through the mud and the muck of last season and last offseason before that. Now it's time to not discuss it anymore. Arizona Cardinals 2.0 that I've touted, very original. I know, super original. Arizona Cardinals 2.0 is here. I will not give Steve Keim the credit he doesn't deserve for anything that happens moving forward. Steve Keim's greatest additions to this roster, the two best moves he made, one was idiotic, and the other was the best draft day move he ever made. Trading up to the top of the second round to draft Budda Baker ahead of Seattle, who 100% would have taken him. That was his best draft pick as general manager of the Arizona Cardinals because he saw it, he went up, and he got it. That's how it was. Like talent evaluation is one of the things that he's not good at, which is GM's job. The second one, drafting Trey McBride in the second round, the dumbest 1-2 punch I've ever seen. 2022 or 2020. Yeah, 2022. Trading for Hollywood Brown, their first round pick. That could have been Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa, but it wasn't. It was a wide receiver. And then in the second round, instead of taking an edge rusher or defensive tackle or an offensive lineman, he drafts a tight end. The idiocy of Steve Keim will not be matched, hopefully for a long time, by any person who holds the general manager title of the Arizona Cardinals. But now, I say goodbye. Onward and upward, Arizona Cardinals 2.0 led by Monty Osford, Jonathan Gannon, et al. To the moon. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.